This paper is an attempt to explain what should be the approach for performance testing when many applications are migrated from native to cloud. These days, we are seeing more and more cloud migrations due to various reasons. Okay, so till they find out, till they sort out the issue, let me just go on. So we have seen various transformations, okay, be it a rehosting, which is nothing but a lift and shift, um, just for infrastructure related issues or to maximize the infrastructure. There are many organizations who move from the local to cloud, be it a private cloud or be it a public cloud. We have also seen various replatform related movements as well, where the database changes. Um, and these are more frequent in the SAP side as well. SAP HANA also, we are seeing a lot of migrations these days. And we are also seeing um, refactoring with the Kubernetes and more of containers these days. We are also seeing refactor related transformations. We are also seeing rebuild related complete change in architecture or movement from a legacy to modernization. We are also seeing those these days. And of course, replace is also becoming a trend where more and more organizations are moving to third party apps like SFDC or Office 365. So, such changes also we are seeing. Though the transformations may be of various types, the need for performance testing, okay, as I explained before, okay, and is becoming more and more important because the end user experience should be seamless, right? That affects the business, that affects the final revenue as well, be it infrastructure or be it code, be it technology, be it platform, be it third party integrations, okay, whatever be it, finally the end user experience should be seamless. So, and as I said earlier, though it's a myth that if we move to cloud, performance will be better, it's not the case always. So, to verify if the scalability or elasticity or whatever the cloud vendors, okay, they are telling you to verify if it is working fine or not, we have to do performance testing. But if we land up doing performance testing for all the applications or for all the scenarios, that would become extremely expensive. Hence, no, we are trying to tell what approach need to be followed, okay, to make it um, lesser expensive at the same time, um, to make sure that performance is better. Yeah, funny, you can go ahead. You can move it to the fifth slide. Can we move to the fifth slide, please? Yeah, so as I explained earlier, so we would be covering the approach that we need to follow in the various stages, right from planning to scripting to pre-migration to post-migration, reporting, and what we have to do in these various stages we would be walking through. Yeah, Funny, go ahead, please. Can we? Fine. So I was just telling what we need to do in various stages we would cover in this paper. So in planning stage, as we cannot do performance testing for all the applications that are getting migrated or for all the transactions, we have to make sure that we select the application that really needs to be performance tested. So to do that, we in the planning stage we have to gather list of applications that will be migrated, and we also have to make sure that we gather information such as what is the type of transformation, who are the point of contacts, okay, what is the architecture, or how many number of users, and all these related informations we need to gather. And in this test strategy phase, what we generally do is whatever informations we have gathered, plus we also make sure we go and talk to the various stakeholders, okay, who are responsible for the migration, especially the application owners, to get more information on what applications are being migrated. Is it a business critical application? Okay, is it a data intensive application? And what will be the impact if non-availability, is it an intranet phasing or extranet phasing? Okay, so all these details, whatever we have collected, we would um, have a good detailed report based on that. And based on this, based on the business criticality and other factors, transformation related factors, we would identify a few applications, okay, which really need to be tested. Generally, for migrations, when they do many applications, hundreds of applications, we have seen that they do not do in one stretch. Okay, they make sure they do it in moves. So we should also gather information on how many applications are being moved in what move one, move two, move three, etc. And based on that information and based on this report that we have gathered, okay, we come up with a proper plan and inform various stakeholders what applications will be performance tested, when they will get the result. So that will be done in the planning phase. Then moving on to the next phase. As I said earlier, there are various transformations that we are seeing. Okay. Rehosting, replatform, refactor, and all this. So, what tests need to be done for what transformation is what we are trying to tell here. In a rehosting, which is nothing but a pure lift and shift, though there are no underlying application changes, right? But still, we do not know where the application will be. Maybe the application was in the local DC earlier, and maybe it will be there in some other location in the cloud. So the end user performance may not be same as before. So besides our load, endurance, scalability that we generally do, we also have to make sure that we do geo-specific load tests. How to do this? There are various vendors available these days, be it a load runner or be it a neoload or any other market leading tool vendors. They provide cloud load generators also. Okay, so you can get load generators in various locations in the world. So we can using changes, right? For example, I was telling we are seeing more and more HANA movement these days, right, in the SAP side. So in such cases, where the platform changes, where the database changes, okay, we besides the load, endurance, scalability, okay, we can also support in early validation of the queries that are being written. Okay, the high performing, I mean the queries that will be frequently used. For example, for HANA queries, we can use HANA Studio and test earlier and let the developers know how it performs. So, besides load, endurance, scalability, we have to make sure that we support in the platform related performance testing as well. Coming to refactor, okay. So refactor, more and more common these days. We have seen in so many organizations. So microservice based performance testing and need to be done. And besides that, we are also supporting in cloud related no, monitoring as well, right? Though there are various monitoring tools that are there um, by the vendors themselves, okay, be it an AWS or be it a GCP or be it Azure. It's extremely expensive to store data for a long time and see how those microservices perform. So we can also use open source tools like a Prometheus or some other, Grafana, that combination, and download all the data and give a meaningful report to our developers. So that is from the three factors. Moving on to rebuild legacy to complete change in legacy to modernization to the cloud component level. So if it's a huge architecture, then we come up with component level non-functional requirements and help in identifying bottlenecks at component level as well, besides end-to-end load testing. Replace, as I said earlier, there are more and more movement to Oracle NCA apps or SFTC, CRM related movements, right? So in such cases, the third party vendors would itself, they would have given some performance related metrics that whatever their third party application will meet. But no, in every third party app, they some amount of customizations are also done. So it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever is given by the vendor is tested and then and checked if it is performing as per whatever metrics they are claiming. Okay. Moving on to next tools. Yes, I did mention various tools that are being used in organizations: LoadRunner, Neolo, JMeter, BlazeMeter for load testing and monitoring, AppD, Dynatrace, Splunk, New Relic, and if it's in the cloud, Azure App Insights, AWS, CloudWatch, Datadog is picking up these days. So these are the various tools that are being used. Okay, so moving on to next, pre-migration benchmarking. So as I said earlier, be it a lift and shift or whatever it is, now we have to make sure that the end user performance is fine. So if it's a pure lift and shift, then in pre-migration we can always do a performance testing in the existing environment and take that as the baseline and then do a performance testing in the new environment and come back. Okay, so that we can do if it is just a lift and shift type of a transformation. But if it is some other type of a transformation, okay, then we cannot do that. So in such cases, what we have to do is we need to talk to the SMEs, okay, understand the architecture and come up with non-functional requirements for the various apps or a third-party app or be it microservices. So we have to gather these statistics from the business stakeholders and others and come up with a non-functional requirement. And we would test the post-migration performance testing based on the based on these requirements. Okay, for transformations where we do not have a pre baseline. So this is what we have tried to explain here. So this in monitoring, what we have to collect is we have what we have given here. Monitoring in a cloud is little tricky. Anyway, we will not get the hardware related metrics, but always we can capture CPU or memory and other statistics at a if it's a container at a container level, at a pod level also we can capture. So those we have listed down here. Response time and throughput, I think we can, that using the load testing tools we can capture. Um, Whatever we do, the performance testing, finally, how we report matters a lot, right? That really helps in the developers or the architects to make sure what if there are any issues, what corrections they have to make. So reporting plays a key role. So what we have tried to capture here is, instead of just reporting out what is your performance and I mean response time or throughput, it is always better if you tell them clearly in environment one. Okay, what was the architecture? Okay, how was the DB server, or load balancers or app gateway, if it was there. So if you tell them clearly what was environment one and what was environment two, it will help them analyze better. We have seen cases where after movement the performance was lesser. Okay, so response time was more. Then when we went and analyzed, we saw that the test environment that was used in the pre and the test environment that was used in the post, okay, there were differences. Okay, there were differences in the database side, and then they came to know that, and they fixed that in the uh, post migration environment. So it is always better to go and report out clearly what was the pre-environment, okay, what was the existing architecture that we did baseline for the pre-migration testing, and what was the architecture, or what are the various application and other server details in the post. We also saw various issues in the app gateway. So in cloud, we are seeing not just bottlenecks because of the server configuration issues. We have also seen bottlenecks in the app gateway itself. So we have to make sure even those details are captured and reported. This is another comparison report that the developers will like. So, besides just comparing what was the response time before and after, it is also better to show it in percentage. Okay, so that will help the developers better. Yeah, as I said earlier, you can compare the server level metrics also. Besides all these performance related metrics, it's always better to give a good report, okay, to the various stakeholders, because in huge migrations which runs for many months or years together, to give a better idea to the stakeholders, it's always good to give such reports. So, for example, here we have tried to capture what are the number of applications that we have selected for performance testing, and for how many we have received the assessment report from various stakeholders, for how many scripting in progress, for how many scripting completed. So all these details, it's better to report it out. For example, this gives a clear idea on how many we have already completed, okay, how many in progress, and how many are we are not able to make progress because the application itself is not moved to cloud, okay, or because of various other reasons in the migration. So it's always better to
Sure.
show a report like this, be it every day or a weekly status report.
Yeah, so it is important to highlight the delays to the customer as well.
Yeah. So
Uh,
sorry. Yeah. Go ahead,
yeah.
please.
Yeah. So, during these migration testings, we have seen few of the challenges as well. Especially that these SLAs were not available, for these key performance indicators. Then we also see that there are some of the network latency issues, since that application or load generator machines are in like different cloud premises, which can probably cause some network latency as well. Also, hosting as well. Any of this tool which is kind of hosted in the client environment, so it has to be in the same subnet mask. So we had seen some of the issues with hosting as well. Also, for one of the cases, we had a requirement to execute SAP GUI test with 9,000 users. Uh, and since this SAP GUI is like memory intensive protocol, so there were challenges in having these different load generator machines and then set up those agents there and ensure that they are up and running to execute the test. So we had to write some of the automation scripts to ensure that the agents are up and running and that latest version is installed there. Also, we have seen some of the challenges as well with respect to like load balancer or application gateway, as Sujatha mentioned. For like one of the projects, we saw that the response time was going very high, and then that was dig down. Then we got to know that it is because of that load balancer issues. The response time was getting very high. Also, we need to ensure that this all the agents should be updated to that latest version and during the monitoring as well, since cloud also provides their tools, but if the client has any specific tools which they have already brought in, like app dynamics or dynatrace, then in that case installing that and then collating the results might become challenging. uh, So, yeah, so here are some of the best practices or kind of lessons learned from projects. Yeah, so it is important that you mimic the real world scenario in performance testing. So there might be some of the bad jobs that might be running in the background. Some of the web services APIs are getting triggered, and at the same time, users are doing some business critical transactions. So this should be the kind of setup that should be done as a uh, in case of performance test. Also, this standard naming convention has to be followed along with proper transaction names for better visibility. Uh, then, wherever these third-party integrations are there, then that end-to-end testing needs to be performed. Also, we need to check the what are batch jobs that we are executing. Uh, that volume is same like before and after in pre and post migration as well. Uh, Also, the application and database server configuration as well we need to check, because we it is important that we compare that in apple to apple comparison in case of pre and post migration. So it is like necessary to have that configuration details in place. Uh, Also, auto scaling is also important factor in cloud, wherein we need to, during the scalability testing, we need to see that auto scaling is happening be it with application server or even with load generator machines as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's it mainly. Side.
Yeah, that's it from us. Any questions?
Do we have any